Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The 16 teams have officially been locked in for the VALORANT World Championship in all of the different regions. There are 4 teams and the seedings are now set as well. Sentinels, not the seeding they would have hoped for after the Americas playoffs. They fall down to NRG in pretty emphatic fashion last night. A terrible couple of days for them as they look to bounce back for the World Championship. The players believe that they can do it, but what happened over the last few days to fall short in just this manner, and what's going to happen with NRG versus G2 to determine the champions of the Americas. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Will the Odin get nerfed as a result of the drama last night as well? Let's get into things. This is the Champions Vandal 2025. So, look, I guess it's pretty cool. To me, it's not setting the world on fire, really. I don't think it's anything totally spectacular. But anyway, there you go. It's the new Vandal for the new season. Shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. There are some pretty cool elements about this, to be fair. I do kind of like what's in the barrel here with all of these VCT logos and stuff. So, yeah, I think they've done a pretty reasonable job. Is it my favourite of the Vandals that we've had over the last few years? Is it my favourite Champions skin? No, I'll be honest, and it's going to cost you a fair few VP if you want to get your hands on that, so that's coming soon. We also got the conclusion yesterday of Europe. This was the final team to be determined who was going to go to the World Championship. It was either going to be BBL or it was going to be Gen.G. Now, BBL, they were one series away from making it, and they've been so close all year to making international tournaments, but have never quite made it work. This was their chance to make it to the World Championship. They'd have beaten Liquid, they'd have done it. If they'd have beaten Gen.G, they'd have done it. Now, we saw yesterday that Profec was under fire. This clip emerged from 3 years ago. And again, it's like, look, if you've got a clip and you want to expose someone and, like, okay, look, maybe you care about the particular instance, or maybe you want to play the moral high ground, or whatever you want to do, the reasons for people exposing these clips, doing so at the precise moment that he was about to play the biggest match of his career, in many respects, was probably intentional, I would suggest. But regardless, there will be an investigation into it. And, I mean, look, I think Profec has learned and grown, it seems, as an individual. People will always debate on whether those original comments are ever justifiable or even forgivable in some respects. But equally, you know, do we not want, like, what do we want? Players not to ever be forgiven or have second chances or have possibilities of rehabilitation like they always painted with that brush? Or do we want to allow people to, you know, improve as people? Isn't that kind of the point? So whatever you say anyway, EMEA, Valorant are getting involved, and they say they're aware of a video involving BBL player Profec. League officials are looking into the matter and will review all related materials. Of course, this is a clip from 3 years ago, and yeah, that doesn't make it irrelevant, and it doesn't make the comments made entirely inappropriate, but of course you can debate what a certain repercussion could be, but it didn't really come at a great time for BBL, did it really? This whole thing happening. In accordance with our standard disciplinary procedure, Profec remains eligible to compete, therefore he is able to participate in this weekend's matches. Of course, he literally had the biggest match ever, and they played it, and they got smoked. Now, maybe they would have got smoked anyway, to be fair, but it did feel like that BBL were mentally compromised. Maybe it was just the loss to Liquid, maybe it was the stuff happening outside of the game, and maybe Gen.G would have just won anyway. And fair play to Gen.G, right? Because they are, I will admit, they're a pretty anonymous team. You look at the big teams around the world, you don't really think much of Gen.G. They're one of the teams that you don't think about at all, really, like when you think of these regions. But to their credit, they've actually done pretty well historically at the World Championship, and now they've qualified for it again, and this was crushing, right? Now, Loon, unfortunately for him, he had pretty good time for BBL mostly. Profec had a rough series. But, you know, I mean, to be fair, they all just got absolutely bodied. There isn't really a one-man blame for this. But this is one of the more one-sided, maybe the most one-sided best of fives you're ever going to see. 13-2 on the Ascent, 13-8 on the Sunset, and then the bind was 13-6. So, yeah, BBL, they had their chances. They turned up to the 2 biggest series to try and qualify. They'd won all those series in a row. They went down to Liquid. They went down to Gen.G. They lost to Gen.G as well during the stage 2. So, yeah, pretty brutal. But congrats to Gen.G, right? Because they, as I say, kind of come out of nowhere to make it here into the World Championship. And, well, who knows whether they can go one step further today when they play the final match against Team Liquid to determine the champions in the European region and therefore the #1 seed. Frost, Talon, they bowed out, as we know. they bottled it pretty bad, right? It was pretty rough. They lost to RRQ in the end, and yeah, Frost says, like, it's been a pleasure coaching all of the players. I don't know if I'm going to stay next year. We'll see what Talon are capable of if they keep Frost, if they keep those guys, if they keep a number of those players, and keep it moving into 2026. But let's talk about the champions of the Pacific, because they were crowned just an hour or so ago. I will say, I mean, we mentioned this, there was some drama about doing these finals in Japan, the visa issues, getting the players out there. And I don't understand why the Japanese teams aren't better than they are, because the Japanese region is incredible when it comes to the fan base. I mean, look at this. This is a regional finals with an absolute packed grandstand with 9,000 fans here in the stadium. Like, this is just honestly amazing to see and to watch this. For, you know, imagine there was a Japanese team there. Could you imagine? It does make me miss Masters Tokyo to some degree, but it's genuinely incredible the level of fan base and support for Valorant in the Japanese scene, and what they're able to do there is spectacular. So congrats to the whole team at VCT Japan for putting this on, and honestly, fair play to Riot saying, you know what, we are going to go and do the finals and just play a couple of matches in this stadium, because only a couple of games that they got to play. But still, they sold out the whole arena, and with one of the biggest fans that Valorant's seen, or one of the biggest crowds Valorant's seen. So honestly, incredible to watch. And yesterday, the fans got treated to a banger series that went all the way down to the wire. Today's series was pretty good, but Paper X just a bit too strong, right? And they got the win pretty emphatically. The Bind was 13-8. The Ascent was 13-7. I mean, Paper X literally went up 10-0 here, right? They could have had the 13-0. RRQ brought it back. The Lotus, Paper X did lose. So RRQ maybe tried to do another reverse sweep. They did it yesterday. They could always do it again. But yeah, and Paper X, it's kind of remarkable, their recent run rate. And I'll just quickly close out. They won the Haven then 13-7. It's not like too many of the games were absolute banger individual maps, and in the end it was Something who won the MVP. So Paper X keeping up where they left off, really, and going into the World Championship as a rather strong force. But I mean, it is incredible to look at this, right? They lost 2-0 to Zeta Division this stage, when it was too late for Zeta Division to do anything. So, yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's tough for them. And the other map that they lost, or I think actually, yeah, in this series, they did lose the Lotus, right? 13-9, they lost the Sunset. So, Lotus is a map where maybe Paper X could be a bit vulnerable, but more than likely they will try not to play it, maybe when they turn up to the big tournaments. But they banned Corrode themselves, because they even picked Lotus in these finals, but it's not like they had the best results on it recently. Something won MVP of the championship, so congrats to Paper X, congrats to Something. They are your Pacific champions, and of course, your #1 seed. So, the seedings haven't been fully determined, but some of the seeds have been set, such as Sentinels will be the 3rd seed from the Americas, because they have lost to G2 and now to NRG as well, despite the circumstances with the points. But these are your 16 teams of the World Championship: Fnatic, Liquid, Heretics, Giant X, G2, Sen, MRBR, NRG, Billy Gaming, Edward, GLI Gaming, Dragon Ranger Gaming, Paper X, T1, RIQ, and DRX made it in the end, of course, over Talon in that remarkable fashion. But speaking of the Americas, this was the big game, and yeah, I thought this series was going to be interesting. I said it yesterday that NRG were absolutely going to put up a fight here, whether they could go one step further. This was just a screenshot from, you guys remember when NRG were in a disaster class, and Ethan looked like he wanted to quit, Mardo looked like he wanted to quit. To think where they've come from there to where they are today is incredibly impressive. And yeah, Mardo was talking about the ace, of course, that he got against Cloud9, and then managed to double down as well against Cloud9 as well later on, as they went on to win that series and then, of course, qualify through. And then last night, having already qualified, this was all about Brook, right? This was all about Brook and the Odin. Now, the Odin's a controversial weapon, as we know, and I think for very good reason, really. It's a gun that is probably better than the utility that it gets, the amount of spamming you can do with it, the speed that it kills, especially if you throw a headshot in there, the ease of the recoil control. And Brook was using the Odin to dominant effect during this series last night. And yeah, part of that's Brook being very good, but also a lot of it is the Odin arguably being kind of busted. So, but look, at the end of the day, if it's cheesy and it's in the game, you're you feel free to use it, and that's exactly what Brook was doing at this point. You can see it was 18-1 and 2 in the background, and as Drew Spark says, shout out Brook for helping speed up that overdue Odin nerf. And look, he was also finding with normal guns as well. It wasn't just the Odin domination, but maybe Drew Sparks onto something there that might have a look at the Odin and say whether this is fair or not. Brook, even after the series, says, look, it's not even that broken, guys. I don't know what you're talking about. Take it easy on me. But NRG get the 3-1 win. The Lotus went their way 13-4. This was Sentinels' pick, and they got demolished on it, largely thanks to Brook and his Odin, but on the Vise, he went 19-6. The Icebox then was NRG's win. This was competitive. Sen had a big attacking side, as you can see, but again, Brook with a demolition job. The Sunset, Sentinels won that, one of their favourite maps as we know, but then the Corrode was 13-8. NRG absolutely dominated the attacking side. Kind of funny really, because Corrode, when it first came out, people feared it was going to be very defensive heavy. Hasn't really proven to be the case so much, and the fact that an 11-1.5 is even possible is something to say. But yeah, Sen just got crushed really by NRG in a way that was pretty unexpected for many, but I didn't expect them to get crushed. I thought it was going to be a competitive series, and it's not like they got crushed, but NRG was certainly the better team, and they move on to the grand finals. So rough couple of days for Sentinels, right? Losing to G2 in the way that they did. Leaf just came back in. They lose to him immediately. Then they play NRG and go down. And yeah, NRG had the momentum from the losers bracket run, whatever you want to say, but still not the result they would have wanted. Marder says LeBrook James because he obviously delivered quite the performance. And Som says, wow, this guy's the best player. They hard carried me today, but I'll be ready for tomorrow. Got to get our get back against G2. So yeah, let's see, right, what they can do against G2, because it seems Sentinels are not capable right now of beating G2. Maybe NRG can be the team to do so, and of course you want to win your region so you can go into the World Championship as the #1 seed. Sen not being the 3rd seed, it's pretty rough, right? Because Sentinels were having their eyes very much on the 1st seed for the World Championship. Now all of a sudden they're 3rd seed, and yeah, okay, they can bounce back. Zekin didn't really have much to say, right? He just said 1-3 versus NRG, clearly frustrated, and they'll need to regain and turn it around. And that seems to be the general consensus from Sentinels. They're like, okay, yeah, that was a rough couple of days, but it doesn't mean that they won't be ready for the World Championship, right? So, yeah, one tough weekend won't stop us. See you in Paris. And maybe it could be helpful. Obviously, you want the momentum from winning your own region to go into the World Championship, but equally, they know that they've got a fair bit of work to do over the next couple of weeks to get ready for Paris, get themselves in a better spot. And yeah, one weekend doesn't define a season. They've at least qualified for all of the international tournaments, have a good opportunity to win again in Paris, but they're going to have to play better than they did over the last couple of days. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. As I say, with NRG's victory, they will now play G2 tonight to see who's going to win. Now, yeah, G2 are going to be the favourites here, but NRG, who knows whether they can cause some serious damage. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.